Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see you here today. If we haven't met yet, I'm Reverend Karen Rasmussen, and I'm your affiliate minister. And I also want to tell you that any time during the service, if you'd like to light a candle up here in front or over in the back, please feel free to do so. Our chalice lighting this morning is from Greta Thunberg. The climate crisis has already been solved. We already have the facts and the solutions. All we have to do now is to wake up and change.
Well, good morning. I'm Bruce Davis. The theme today is Never Let a Good Crisis Go to Waste. This is a statement attributed to Winston Churchill. It reflects that crises provide opportunities to rethink what we've been doing and to do something better. In this lay-led service, we explore how the climate crisis offers opportunities for people to think and act in new ways and to create a more abundant and sustainable life for all. To accomplish this, we need to re-examine humanity's relationship with nature and what makes life worth living. We must develop a compelling vision of the future that we want to create. And we must act.
Good morning. I'm Evelyn Jacob. In a recent Washington Post essay, Rebecca Solnit suggested that we view addressing the climate crisis in a radical new way. She wrote, and I quote, "A monastic once told me, renunciation can be great if it means giving up things that make you miserable." This vision, I think, is what has been missing when we talk about the climate crisis and how we should respond to it. Much of the reluctance to do what climate change requires comes from the assumption that it means trading abundance for austerity and trading all our stuff and conveniences for less stuff, less convenience. But what if it meant giving up things that we are well rid of, from deadly emissions to nagging feelings of doom and complicity in destruction? What if austerity is how we live now, and abundance could be what is to come? What if we imagined wealth as consisting not of the money we stuff into banks or the fossil fuel-derived goods we pile up, but as consisting of joy, beauty, friendship, community, closeness to a flourishing nature, and good food produced without abuse of labor? What if we think of wealth as security in our environments and societies, and as confidence in a viable future? End quote. A similar point with a lighter tone appears in the following cartoon. In case someone can't see it well, I'll describe it. The setting is a climate summit with a speaker on stage and a full audience. The speaker is pointing to a list of benefits of addressing climate change that include energy independence, sustainability, green jobs, livable cities, clean water and air, and healthy children. A man in the audience stands up and asks the speaker, "But what if it's a big hoax and we create a better world for nothing?"
This is a reflection on a book called Regeneration, authored by Paul Hawken. In Regeneration, Paul Hawken argues that solving the climate crisis requires putting life and the interdependent web of existence at the center of every action and decision made by individuals, groups, organizations, and governments. To reverse global warming, Hawken says, we must restore and support the interconnections within nature, between nature and humans, and among all humans. To restore and support these interconnections, Hawken challenges us to move away from the extractive economy we now have toward an economy that protects and regenerates the abundance that nature has given us. Hawken writes, "Climate change may leave people feeling as if they need to make a choice between saving the world and their own happiness, well-being, and prosperity. Not at all. Regeneration is not only about bringing the world back to life, it is about bringing each of us back to life. It has meaning and scope, it expresses faith and kindness, it involves imagination and creativity, it is inclusive, engaging, and generous, and everyone can do it."
What gives me hope is when I look at
One other thing I needed
the
to do.
narratives of history
The next part of the
and
program
how a
is
strictly
we will
rational
see
person
a clip from Reverend Abi and Reverend Nancy. This was presented at the climate convocation that we had right here at River Road last month. And their words inspire us to the importance of hope and the great surmise that change is possible.
What gives me hope is when I look at the narratives of history and how a strictly rational person might think that there is no hope when looking at things like totalitarianism and slavery and apartheid. And then movements and leaders emerged with that sense of holding on to resilient hope over despair. Not because they believed necessarily in hope will come, but more because they believed in hope might come, and to be engaged in that. And when I see now indigenous people and communities of color and young people are forcing their way to the table and to the forefront and leading the way and teaching us along the way, that is giving me hope.
There's a great sermon that was preached a long time ago by our colleague Carl Scoville. He preached about what he called the great surmise. He said, I don't know that it is true, but I need to surmise this thing in order to live in the way that I need to live. And his great surmise was the great surmise that we are loved beyond measure. And he said, I don't know if it's true, but I want to be the kind of person who lives as if it is true. And I think it is similar. There is a great surmise that hope is possible, that hope can be in the ways in which we have the power to change the devastation that is coming our way. I don't know if I always believe it, but I want to be a person who lives as if it is true, who can cast that great surmise out into the universe and make choices that align me with that.
I got so down and troubled, I nearly lost my head. I started waking every morning, filled with sadness, fear, and dread. The world I took for granted was crashing to the ground, and I realized I may not live long enough to ever see it turn around. Oh, but then I got to thinking of the ones who came before, of all the sacrifices that they made to open up so many doors. Doors I got to walk through on streets paid for me by people who were working on a world they never got to see. And now I'm working on a world I might never see, joining forces with the warriors of love who came before and will follow you and me. I get up in the morning knowing I'm privileged just to be working on a world I might never see. Troubles of the day, but neither did all our ancestors. They persevered anyway.
Good morning. I'm Jack Leibowitz.
I'm Candace Riddington. Good.
Okay. Candace, I bought 6 of these wool balls.
Cute. This one has pretty little eyes on it. Are these from our dog Lucy to play with?
Oh, no, she'd tear the hell out of them.
You're right.
No, they're a carbon reduction action recommended by the Cool Block Environmental course in the Earth Ministry. I don't think you understand this, do you?
Well, you got to explain a little bit more.
Okay. You put the wool balls in with wet clothes in a clothes dryer. They act to reduce the clumping of clothes, making drying more efficient and hence faster. There is absorption of water as well. This cuts drying time by 25 to 40%, which means 25 to 40% less energy use and less greenhouse gases. They will last 1,000 loads.
How many can you put in at once?
You can put into the dryer, depending on the load, but 3, even as much as 6. So you really can get tremendous efficiency of drying, and with it, reduced carbon footprint.
Why not? Every little bit helps, so yeah, I'm game. Let's try it. I guess poor Lucy won't get the benefit of this, but anyway, I like this one. Has pretty little faces on it. But you know, I also use solar power when it comes to drying clothes with a device called the clothesline. Let's test some of these balls.
Excuse me?
Oh, go ahead.
No,
I have a feeling I won't.
Using wool balls represents a small step that must be coupled to further actions, such as described earlier, to combat climate warming. While we are focusing on our present actions, we need to look to the future, which has captured, as Reverend Abbey said, has captured the energy of many young people, promoting protests, court cases, advocacy presentations to the UN, and far more. They know the consequences of extreme weather events will stabilize the global environment, impacting them far more than what is transpiring now. The potential consequences are true for your children and your grandchildren. So let us honor all their actions and work to give them a sustainable future, hopefully with abundance. Now, to remind you, we're going to throw out some wool balls.
No line drives.
Watch out, everybody. How many do you want to throw out? Okay, this one's for you. One more.
Okay. There's a. If you want it, you got to pay a little bit. The wool balls can be purchased from Amazon, Target, or Trader Joe's. And if you, the ones that have, the simple ones, all white, are purchasable in all those places. If you want the cute faces, they're somewhat more expensive, but they help. The wool comes from New Zealand, and it's ethically produced, and it's sent to underprivileged communities in Nepal, and they do the sewing of the faces. So you really help everybody by buying a wool ball. Right.
That's
Fine.
important that Nepal gets sustainability from creating these families in Nepal.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Can you tell I spend hours tossing balls for our dog? Hours. We've been talking about things we can do to make a change, and you know what else you can do? You can share the resources you have with the people, causes, and places that share your values. Belief turns into action, and intention turns into generosity in all sorts of ways. And in one way, right now, is to share your bounty with this beloved community. How can you give, you might ask me? Text to 73256. That number again is 73256. Hit the green button on the website. Baskets are going around now for folks for the collection, and there's a box in the back. Thank you for your generosity.
I love those. I'm gonna take one with me. Good morning and happy Father's Day. I think my dad would be a little surprised to see me standing up here. My name is Glenn Peppel, and I'm going to offer there are really more musings and wonderings than thoughts about 3 projects that I was involved in as a congregant and a member of the Board of Trustees. So the first one is the Pathway. And can you just raise your hand, just a quick survey. How many of you used the Pathway this morning? No pressure, but if you're able to, you should check it out sometime. River Road sits on a gorgeous piece of land. It's gorgeous and problematic, and our land and labor acknowledgement team is continuing to challenge us to think about our past, the indigenous peoples who lived here, the enslaved community that toiled and also lived here. And we're kind of the arbitrary inheritors of that land. We've built a building. We've built an addition. We have a small network of roads, and in 2018, 2019, we were faced with a dilemma. Do we make yet another kind of incursive mark on the land? And for me, it was a dilemma. Is it possible to save or return to a pristine landscape? Was it ever pristine? Can we improve the land? Can we make it more accessible without further desecrating it? And the building committee, the finance committee, a lot of other folks, we had to balance the practical and the symbolic, getting walkers off the road and connecting River Road's front door, quite literally, to the community. And again, check it out, because I think that the result was a positive one, where the footprint was minimized and native plantings, sustainable materials were maximized. And I think it maybe gives us a new vista to reflect on our past. Second project, the solar panels. Oh, the solar panels. Kim Weichel was here last weekend, and she commented that the panels that she voted as part of the board to approve, that they seemed more prominent than she anticipated, and I had to think about that. Was that a good thing, to be more prominent? Like the pathway, there were financial and logistical considerations. There were purchase agreements to be considered, leases. I had to think about locally produced versus distantly produced kilowatt hours. And then, this was the kicker, that the solar panel project would intersect with the new roof. The timing was exquisite, but it was a little bit challenging as well. Are we really going to pierce brand new shingles with mounting brackets? Or isn't this the perfect time to combine the two, solar panels and a new roof? I think that protecting the building, maintaining the original character of this building, that too needed to be weighed with, in Kim's words, being a prominent beacon on the hill. And just as a footnote, that discussion was helped by having a team like Bruce Davis and Nick Camphouse, and that guiding voice of Charlotte Moser in the Green Sanctuary. The third, the water refilling station. And I thought, well, surely this is the simplest of environmentally friendly solutions, right? You buy a refilling station, you plug it in and use it. But even here, there were permits, pipes, wall cut-ins. What was the optimal location? How do you assess the effectiveness? Do you count the number of uses? It's coming in during the pandemic, so what does that mean? Do we do away with plastics altogether? Just for us, for our vendors, for our renters? It's taken me a while to appreciate that adage about not letting the perfect be the enemy of the good. I'm still not sure that I really like it, but good is not perfect. It's not best for everyone, and it still has something that is universal. Incremental changes, emblematic changes have their place, and I think they have their boldness. I have to believe that our theology is one that embraces movement, embraces change, can acknowledge our ancestors, our past transgressions and shortcomings, even as we carve out a more sustainable and hopeful future. So, to be willing to enhance and share the lush wonder of our campus, to be challenged to see the award-winning character of our building in a new and newly crowned light, to pursue common sense improvements despite the drywall cuts and pipe relocations. These aren't, strictly speaking, Earth ministry goals. We are all ministers in this endeavor, and this is our little piece of the earth to steward, to grapple with ideas and ideals and solutions. To Evelyn's cartoon, it's not for nothing, obviously, and to Bruce's challenge about acting, we have acted, and we need to continue to act. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Paul Hawken wrote, "Disconnections are the root cause of the climate crisis. To reverse global warming, we must restore and support interconnections within nature, between nature and humans, and among all humans." I'm Heidi Mordhorst, and this is why I helped to organize the Capital Area UU Climate Convocation. Friends, I was weary of feeling small. I don't know about you, but I grew up with a rather grandiose sense of my own agency, my own power. I've been privileged and I've been lucky in life to succeed at most things I set my mind to. Becoming a classroom teacher only entrenched this idea that I could be the queen of my domain, making plans and decisions and then executing them practically immediately. It's a very powerful thing being the only adult in the room. But just as I was beginning to feel outmatched by the demands of teaching around 2018, I also began to learn in earnest about the causes and impacts of climate warming. It was late, my friends, late, when you consider for how long some people have understood the complex effects of unchecked industrial capitalism. I'm looking at you, Walter Weiss. Understanding the impact of human activity spurred me to tackle global warming in my usual way. I attempted to solve it myself today, by composting and riding my bike more. It took a while for me to learn from the research of others and from the example of a Swedish teenager who could not swallow the excuses of the adults in the room, that my individual actions were useless against this monstrous systemic destruction. I was not grand enough, not powerful enough, not successful enough to fix it. I felt small. So I joined some online groups. I donated some money, I went to some events, I demonstrated and I protested. I did a lot of things. And of course, I joined our Mighty Little Earth ministry. And that's when I realized that having a dozen adults in the room in relationship is the antidote to the disconnection, the isolation, the overwhelm, and the weariness. Duh. But wait. If a dozen like-minded activists in a room is good, then 10 dozen is better, right? I knew that there must be groups like ours in every UU congregation, mighty little groups that were not yet interconnected and leveraging the power of one joined voice. And I knew that according to social movement research, it takes just 3.5% of a population participating in common action to effect lasting change. So when Reverend Nancy suggested a big old event of some kind, a party, and hooked us up with some folks in the Potomac Partnership, I jumped into this new we with both feet. The planning team, with its many representatives of 15 far-flung congregations in the DMV, did not feel small. The energy in that room as we found each other, and I'm talking a Zoom room here, was like being on stage at a performance of Hamilton, except a lot whiter. We exerted abundant efforts to reach other congregations and individuals within them, and we made it a priority to establish an ally relationship with CASA to grow the room even wider and more colorful. Yes, I worked hard and gave of my time, but I did it selfishly, knowing that I was helping to build a room full of interconnection between nature and humans and among all humans, and that my work would feel less weary and more powerful. Composting and riding my bike still have their place in my daily routine. They are practices of personal mindfulness that remind me of my small but essential contributions to the whole common action. I don't know for sure that we can save the planet, but the abundance and possibility embodied in our new UU Mid-Atlantic Network for the Environment is helping me to hold to this great surmise, to live as if we think it's true that we can save the planet here in one of the rooms where it happens. Thank you. And now, if you will rise as you are willing and able and sing hymn 121 with us, We'll Build a Land.
We are a robust and active community. If your interest or commitment is piqued by today's service, our service leaders invite questions and conversation here in the sanctuary right after the service. But wait, there is more. Our spring services auction is about to close at 6 this evening. What you got is what you got, and what you did not get, well, so I recommend you take one more look at the website, have one more chat at the auction table out here in the bridge. There's some terrific events out there. Take one more stroll past the offerings that are posted there, and think about all of us growing our connections in this delightfully, mutually beneficial way. Next week, we are not having our own service right here. Instead, we'll be live streaming the General Assembly service. I think there's some people we know who'll be in that service next Sunday, like Cliff and Reverend Nancy. Please note that it starts at 11 a.m., an hour later than usual, 11 a.m., and they'll have popcorn here for you. I know. Who could resist? During the month of July, we are once again preaching along the Potomac, and all of the July services will start at 10:30 a.m. Keep an eye on your inbox for more information about Summer with River Road. And the last one here is there is a new art show in the fellowship hall. You might want to check that out. A hearty thank you to the Earth Ministry and all our service leaders and the planners for the energy and time you put into today. This was lovely. Thank you to Cliff and to Grace, the other way around, Cliff and to Grace, and for the staff that, yes. And for the staff that worked so hard and all the tech people to make this morning happen for us. I so appreciate all the work that you do. I will close with the words from Maya Angelou. You do the best you can until you know better. And when you know better, you do better. Have a great week, everybody.